My family chose my sister over me my whole life, thinking I'd never make anything of my career. But one Facebook post proved them all wrong, and now I'm getting the last laugh as they suddenly want to play family. I 32 am always knew I was the black sheep of the family. Growing up, it was clear my parents favored my sister 29F in every way imaginable. She was the golden child, straight A's, popular, athletic, you name it. Meanwhile, I struggled in school and had a hard time fitting in socially. My parents never missed an opportunity to compare us, always holding her up as the shining example I should aspire to be. As we got older, the divide only grew wider. My sister breezed through an Ivy League education and landed a prestigious job at a top law firm right out of school. I, on the other hand, dropped out of community college after a year and bounced between dead-end retail jobs. Every family gathering was an exercise in humiliation as relatives fawned over her accomplishments while barely acknowledging my existence. I had always been interested in computers and coding, teaching myself in my spare time. But whenever I tried to talk about it, my family would roll their eyes or change the subject. They made it clear they thought it was just another pipe dream that would never amount to anything. "Why can't you be more like your sister and get a real career?" my father would say. Eventually, I'd had enough. I cut contact with my family and moved across the country to pursue my passion for programming. It wasn't easy. I worked multiple jobs to make ends meet while dedicating every spare moment to honing my skills. But slowly I started to make progress. I landed my first junior developer role, then steadily worked my way up. Years went by with minimal contact from my family. The rare times we did speak, it was clear nothing had changed. They still saw me as the family failure, barely disguising their disappointment whenever I came up in conversation. I stopped reaching out altogether, focusing instead on building the life and career I knew I was capable of. Then came the day that changed everything. After years of hard work and dedication, I had finally achieved a major career milestone, landing a job as a lead developer at one of the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley. The salary and benefits package were beyond anything I could have imagined. For the first time in my life, I felt truly proud of what I had accomplished. In a moment of excitement, I posted about my new job on Facebook. I rarely used social media, but this felt like an achievement worth sharing. Within hours, my phone was blowing up with notifications. Suddenly, family members who hadn't spoken to me in years were coming out of the woodwork. My sister was the first to call. "Oh my God, I had no idea you were doing so well," she gushed. "We have to get together and catch up." I could hear the shock in her voice, tinged with what sounded suspiciously like jealousy. Next came my parents. My mother left a voicemail full of forced cheer, saying how proud they were and how we simply must have a family dinner to celebrate. My father texted, his message dripping with insincerity. "Always knew you had it in you, son. Let's grab a beer and talk about your exciting new venture." As the days went on, more distant relatives chimed in. Aunts, uncles, and cousins, who had never shown an ounce of interest in my life, were suddenly my biggest cheerleaders. Everyone wanted to reconnect, to be a part of my success story. At first, I was stunned by the sudden outpouring of attention. But as the initial shock wore off, I felt a simmering anger begin to build. Where were all these people when I was struggling? Why did it take a high-paying job for them to see my worth? I ignored most of the messages, but I couldn't resist responding to my sister. "Funny how you're suddenly interested in catching up," I wrote. "I don't remember you being this eager to talk when I was working retail and living in a tiny apartment." Her reply came quickly, full of excuses and deflection. She claimed she had always believed in me, but our parents had discouraged her from reaching out. It was clear she was trying to rewrite history, to position herself as my ally all along. The final straw came when my parents announced they were planning a surprise party to celebrate my new job. They hadn't bothered to consult me, of course. My mother called, barely containing her excitement, as she outlined their grand plans. "We're inviting the whole family," she exclaimed. "Everyone's so proud of you and can't wait to see you. Oh, and we thought it would be nice to have it at your sister's new house. She's been doing so well at the firm, you know. Just made junior partner." I listened in disbelief as she rambled on, my blood boiling. It was clear they still saw my sister as the star, with my accomplishments merely a convenient excuse for another family gathering where she could shine. That's when I snapped. Years of pent-up frustration and resentment came pouring out. "No," I said firmly, cutting her off mid-sentence. "There will be no party. In fact, there will be no contact at all." My mother sputtered in confusion, but I pressed on. For years, you all treated me like I was worthless. You never supported my dreams or believed in me. Now that I found success on my own, you want to play happy family? It doesn't work that way. I could hear the shock in her voice as she tried to backpedal, but I wasn't having it. I don't need your approval or your celebration. I've built a life and a career I'm proud of, no thanks to any of you. The time for family bonding was years ago when I could have used your support. Now, I'm done. With that, I hung up the phone and blocked their numbers. I did the same for my sister and the rest of the extended family. It wasn't an easy decision, but it felt like the right one. I had spent too many years trying to win their approval, and I was finally in a place where I realized I didn't need it. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into my new job. The work was challenging and rewarding, pushing me to grow in ways I never had before. I formed genuine connections with my coworkers, people who appreciated me for my skills and personality rather than my family name or bank account. Occasionally, I would think about my family and wonder if I had made the right choice. But then I'd remember all the years of dismissal and disappointment, the constant comparisons and put-downs. I realized that true family isn't about blood relations or shared DNA. It's about the people who support you, believe in you, and stand by you through thick and thin. As I settled into my new life, I felt a sense of peace I had never known before. I had proven to myself and to everyone else that I was capable of great things. But more importantly, I had learned that my worth wasn't tied to their approval or anyone else's. Success, I realized, wasn't about impressing others or proving them wrong. It was about living life on my own terms and finding happiness in my own accomplishments. Looking back, I can see that cutting ties with my family was the final step in my journey to success, not because it allowed me to focus solely on my career, but because it freed me from the weight of their expectations and judgments. For the first time in my life, I was truly living for myself. As I sit here in my new apartment, overlooking the San Francisco skyline, I can't help but smile. The path to get here wasn't easy, but it was mine. And that, I've learned, is worth more than any family fortune or approval ever could be. So, to my family, wherever they are, I have just one thing to say. Thank you. Thank you for underestimating me, for pushing me away, for forcing me to find my own path. Because in doing so, you gave me the greatest gift of all, the strength to believe in myself when no one else would. And that, more than any job or paycheck, is the true measure of success.